back to the Roger Hedgecock Show here at the Aramco Group Studios at UTTV. The aforementioned Mehran Aram joins us now to talk a little bit about the market reaction to this election. And obviously Dow went down. What was the market reaction to the election itself?
Well, very, very interesting. You know, the voters did their voting the day before, but I think Wall Street did the major vote by, pushing the Dow down dramatically. But as I've said in my reports before, even 2 days before, in both of my reports, I said an Obama victory will be, viewed as not as business friendly. And the stock market showed us that. But very good for interest rates because bond market rallied. So when the stock market tanks like that, bond market rallies because investors are putting their money in the safety. That's why I call it the flight to safety or flight to quality rally. Okay, those are the terminologies used. So actually, mortgage rates went down to all-time lows on that. But Wall Street didn't like it. Stock market didn't like it because the whole negotiation, we were talking about that off the air, over the fiscal cliff is going to be much more contentious with someone like Obama. It's going to be more confrontational, more problematic, more difficult. And I think that had a lot to do with the market reaction because now it's not going to be Romney, the peacemaker, who's used to working with Democrats, and all of that track record. So now it's going to be more of this. And the market doesn't like it very much.
All right. Well, I was watching some of the individual stocks yesterday, and I noticed that because Obama got reelected and probably won't approve the Keystone Pipeline to give us that Canadian oil, the oil stocks all went down about 3%.
Coal, too.
Coal, too. Yes. All the traditional fuels. But Smith & Wesson went up by 10%, which tells you a little something about where people are going. Now, talk about the mortgage rates, though, because you said all-time low. Good grief. If you're in the market for a house, isn't this the time?
Absolutely. And, one has to wonder, well, what's going on with all these problems? How could we have so much relatively good news? It's because you really, even in spite of the administration, we got to go back to supply and demand. This morning I was thinking about something simple I would say on the air with you, and I thought about apples, believe it or not.
Apples, okay.
Yeah, apples in kindergarten and first graders. Teach them about economics early. I think when you have election results like this, it is a reflection of our educational system. I got a lot of heat for that when Obama was elected when I said that in my report, but it is. If our education system does not teach economics, we've got a problem.
Yeah.
People don't understand supply and demand, we've got a problem.
So what about apples?
And when you talk about supply and demand in the real estate market, going back to apples, you got supply and demand. So the supply is going down dramatically. As long as supply goes down like that, there's pent-up demand. People have been waiting.
Yep.
And recently, a research was done, and it was over 70% of home buyers said that they think it's a good time to be buying because the data is looking better. Home prices starting to rise. CoreLogic did a study. Home prices up 7.6% compared to 12 months ago, year over year. So it's pretty good. Numbers are looking better. Interest rates are super, super low because of all the misery that's going on in the economy, because the bond market, gets boosted by that. And God willing, as the real estate rises, it will kind of raise the rest of the economy with it, because this particular downturn in the economy was very unlike the other ones. It was the housing market that brought it down. Right. Whereas usually the economy suffers, recession sets in, brings down the housing. So if housing can come back up, and if we can get over that fiscal cliff and not fall over it, I think that we could be looking at better times ahead. But there's always a silver lining. That's my point. Stocks take a beating. People aren't very happy. Bond market benefits from it. Mortgage rates fall to all-time lows. We're conforming. No point 30-year fixed mortgage rates now average 3 3/8.
Wow.
15-year fixed rates 2 3/4.
2 3/4.
Unbelievable. So we see something bad. A lot of us were not very happy with the result yesterday. But there's always that silver lining.
Interesting.
There's always that silver lining.
You mentioned that the prices of houses were going up, and I think some people would scratch their heads and go, how can that be? But what it is the supply of housing has not been expanding because nobody's wanting to build anything for a long time.
Correct.
So now what's on the market, which is not very much, is being bid up by people who are taking advantage of these interest rates.
Well, exactly. Also, distressed sales. There's not as much, the percentage of distressed sales has gone down. So we've got regular sellers versus distressed sellers. So that makes a difference. And if the supply is lower, demand is higher, and no longer does a home buyer think they're going to be called a fool at a cocktail party for buying a home,
right,
catching a falling knife.
Right.
Now they're viewed as being extremely intelligent.
Yeah, ahead of the curve.
Exactly.
now, but here's the other thing: it's people who were underwater. That is, the house was not worth as much as the mortgage they owed against it. Those people are diminishing now because the prices of housing, as it comes up, the appraisal of those homes. Now we start to see people emerging from the water.
Yes. It's a herd mentality. It goes one way, everybody follows the herd, and the other way. So people who are going to bail out on their homes, that were right on the edge, are going to say, maybe not.
Maybe not.
Because it's going to be hard for me to qualify for a loan and buy a home, period. Doesn't matter I have no equity. And that's really, by the way, how our viewers should be looking at this. If you don't have equity, but you have a home, keep it. Because you'll have equity eventually.
Yeah.
You think you're gonna be able to now qualify for a loan if your credit was damaged through all this mess and whatever. You may not be able to buy a home for a long time. So a lot of people who are going to bail out may hold.
Just the point to hold and stay where you are.
Absolutely.
Because it's going to be more expensive to rent. Because the other thing that's happening is the shortage of housing. People are going into the rental market. Well, rents are going up.
They have been going up through this. Bottom line is, I'm very happy I was not on the air with you yesterday.
Yes.
Because I would not be cheering anybody up, okay? I needed somebody to cheer me up.
But there is a silver lining.
Yes, there is a silver lining. I've had time, 24 hours to recover from this. And today I want to concentrate on a silver lining, and, we will bounce from this.
Absolutely. Mehran Aram, thanks for coming in. I appreciate it. 877, what is it now? 600-1130. 600-1130. And the AramcoGroup.com. I'm Roger Hedgecock, and we'll be back talking about gay marriage prevailed in 4 states. We'll talk about where they are and why after this.